Hey friends, I'm Nicole. If I have not gotten the chance to practice with you yet, thank you for being here. Those of you who have been practicing with me for a bit have been on me in the comments about another advanced practice. So today is going to be a really fun flow, and as the word that I apparently overuse a lot, funky. You guys have been saying that in the comments too. The funky flows. Today will be a fun, funky, creative sequence that's definitely challenging. I'll throw in some inversion options and some more challenging transitions, but as always, regardless of whether or not you consider yourself advanced, like the rating system is not something that feels great to me. It's just a way for me to give you a heads up of what you're stepping into, because it's important to me that no one gets hurt, that you really get good at listening to your body and what feels possible for you and not, and modify as you need. So if I ever suggest something that doesn't feel good to you, or you need a warm up first, or you need something different, offer yourself that, please. I'm putting these videos out into the world, and I feel so lucky that thousands of you, tens of thousands of you are practicing with me, but that means that you guys have to get really good at refining what your body needs, because I can't do that from behind a computer screen. Okay, let's move one thing first. I said this in my last video. In January, I'm going to be offering a month of live meditations, which is something that's really near and dear to my heart. I'm very excited about it. It's all going to happen through Instagram. I'm going to put the link below for my website where you can go check it out. It's going to be a month of live meditations. You can Q&A with me, chat with me afterwards. And it'll all happen through Instagram, and it's donation based, and 10% of all donations are going to charities. So that was a little summary, but there's more information on my website or on my Instagram, Nicole Collective, and super excited to move with you. Let's do it. So we are actually going to get started today lying on our bellies. You are going to find your way down onto the belly, and then you're going to cross the right arm right across you, and then the left arm across you, so the left arm is forward. And then you're just going to soften into this shape. So if there's any holding in the shoulders, the muscles in the shoulders, so the shoulder blades pull apart on the back body, let the weight of the head drop, the chin falls in towards the chest, the forehead towards the floor. It might even reach the floor potentially. And start to invite in some big breaths, filling the back of the lungs, the space that is in the back body. And just a couple more cycles of breath here. Again, we're broadening through the shoulders, the back of the shoulders, the back of the heart. Then on your inhale, let's release the left arm out, kind of to a T. We're going to tent the fingertips, and then the right arm out. Tent the right fingertips. Press the fingertips into the floor, press into the tops of the feet, and roll up with the oh my gosh, I almost said the up body. The torso. The shoulders pull onto the back. The heart is pulling through the shoulders to the front of the mat. And then on your exhale, soften the heart back down to the floor. Cross the left arm in front of you, and then this time the right arm is on top. And as much as you can, you're really just softening into this shape, letting the back of the shoulders spread open, letting the head drop, the chin drop, releasing the jaw from being clenched, so the teeth separate from each other and the tongue falls from the top of the mouth. Notice what the mind is doing at this point in the practice. We're just getting started. And then using your next inhale, unravel, right arm out to the right, tent the fingers, left arm out to the left, tent the fingers. Press into the fingers to lift the heart, shoulders roll onto the back, heart threads through. This time, open the mouth for the exhale, big exhale, and release the heart down. 2 more like that. Inhale to lift. Open the mouth, exhale, let it go. One more time. Inhale through the nose, open the heart, shoulders pull onto the back body. Open the mouth, exhale, let it go. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders. Can start to plant into the fingertips, but we're not really going too far yet. We're just gonna swing the right leg out to a half frog shape. So the knee is in line with the hip. And then you can either stay right here, or what I like to do is straighten out through the right leg. So the right ankle is in line with the right knee, is in line with the right hip. This might be too much too early for the inner thighs, the adductors, so the knee can stay bent if you need to. Then we're gonna plant into the hands, and as much as feels supported in the body, we're gonna press into the hands and lift the heart with the right leg out to the right. Again, right leg could be straight, or right leg could be bent. Wherever you're at, flex the right toes back towards the body, roll the shoulders onto back body, and then exhale, soften the heart back down to the floor. 2 times, 1 breath per movement. Inhale to lift, open the heart. Exhale to release back down. 1 more time, inhale to lift, open the heart. Exhale, let it go. Curl onto the left toes if you're not there already. We're gonna swing the right leg around, and with the right big toe and second toe, you're gonna hook onto the the left ankle, the foot. And then pressing into the hands, we're gonna just press up into a high plank with the right toes connected to the left foot. Now we'll lift the right foot, flex into the right toes, and we're gonna open up into a wild and dropping the right foot behind the back, opening the heart, right fingers point towards the top of the mat. And then on your exhale here, we're gonna drop the hips to the floor. Keep the right foot planted where it's at. Right knee is bent. Spine comes really tall, and this might be where you're at with the compression of the hips. Or you might start to lean the upper body forward over the left leg. You might even work towards the bind, interlacing the hands around the right knee. Heart softens towards the top of the left thigh. Maybe eventually the nose reaches left knee. Pull the left toes back towards the body. And then if you've got the bind, keep it. We're going to come up through standing with the upper body, but lift the right leg. Right toes pull back. And then releasing the clasp of the hands if you've got it, if you have the bind. From wherever you're at, you're going to bring both hands to the right foot. And as much as you can, just straighten out the right leg. Flex the right toes back towards body. Maybe the right thigh comes all the way to the right rib cage. And then on your exhale, you're going to cross the right ankle on top of the left as you fold the upper body forward. Nose rounds towards the right knee. A little bit more of an outer hip stretch, IT band stretch when we cross the feet. A little bit of a funky transition here on your inhale. We're going to come up through center. Keep the feet crossed. Upper body lifts. We're going to plant the left hand at the left hip. And then we're just pivoting open to a high just underneath the shoulders. So as you pivot to the feet should plant hip width distance apart. On your exhale, halfway hover, elbows hug the rib cage. Hold it. Knees can drop if you need to. 2 more cycles of breath. Big inhales. Slow exhales. Last one. Elbows pull into the rib cage. On your exhale, let's lower all the way down to the belly. Untuck the toes. Left knee comes out to a frog, a half frog shape. Left foot is flexed. And again, you can either keep the leg as it is here, or you could straighten out through the left leg, bringing the inside edge of the left foot to the floor. Hands are planted on the mat. If this feels like too much for the low back, when we come up, you can bring the hands out farther in front of you. So that is a modification, or a way to kind of adjust the shape. Pressing into the hands in your inhale, let's straighten out the arms, or maybe you lift just a little bit without bringing the elbows straight, also totally fine. Pull the heart forward, shoulders onto back body. And then exhale to release the heart back down. 2 more, 1 breath per movement. Press into the hands. Inhale, lift the heart, shoulders onto the back. Exhale, release down. Last one, pressing into hands. Inhale, open up, shoulders onto the back body. Maybe an open mouth exhale as you release down. Curling onto the right toes if you're not there already. So right toes to the floor. Swing the left leg around, left big toe and second toe. Hook onto the right Achilles tendon, or kind of just below the heel or above the heel. And then pressing into the hands, engage into the core, engage into the glutes. Press all the way up to the high plank. Wrists underneath the shoulders. and then lift the left foot to a hover. Left toes are flexed. We're going to pivot open to a wild thing, dropping left toes behind the back, lifting the left hand from the mat, hips and heart press high, left fingertips reach towards the top of the mat. We are early on in the practice, so only go as far as feels supported here. And then keeping the left foot planted to the mat, we're going to drop the hips down, so we're turning towards the back of the mat here. Also fine if you end up on either side of your mat. My mat's extra big. Sit tall, and then on your exhale, start to fold the upper body forward if that feels available. If you wanted to work towards the bind, left hand reaches around, right hand reaches behind, so you're interlacing the hands, potentially around the left knee. If that's not available, let it go. No need to do the bind. I find in my body that this shape is totally different on the right side than the left. One more breath here, using your exhale to soften a little deeper into the shape, heart towards right thigh, maybe nose towards right knee. And then if you've got the bind, you're going to keep it and come up through center with the upper body. So you're lifting the left foot, keeping the compression in the left hip. And then from whatever shape you're in, so with or without the bind, we're going to bring both hands to the left foot and straighten out through the left leg, really just to the most of your ability. So totally fine if there's a bend in the left knee. Try to keep the spine as tall as you can here. Pull the left toes back towards the body. One more exhale to maybe deepen the stretch. Left thigh towards left rib cage. And then on your exhale, you're delivering the left ankle to stack on top of the right and staying folded forward here. So hands can release to the floor. Drop the head, chin in towards chest. Last breath here. And then using your inhale, come back up through center. Right hand plants with the right hip, fingers point towards the top of the mat. And again, we're going to pivot to the right now, landing in a high. Lifting the shoulders. Elbows bend to exhale. Down halfway. Hold. Elbows hug into the rib cage. This time on your inhale, pull through to your up dog, rolling shoulders onto the back body, and then on your exhale, roll the hips up and back, landing in our first down dog of practice. Couple breaths here to pedal out the feet, bending into one knee and then into the other knee, shifting hips side to side. Let it feel good in the body. Then we're going to roll out the dog a couple of times. So articulating each vertebrae in the spine on your exhale, ripple forward, landing in your high plank. And then from the tailbone, pull the hips back, downward dog. 2 more times, exhale, ripple forward, high plank. From the tailbone, pull the hips back. 1 more time, exhale, ripple forward. From the tailbone, lift, pull the hips back. Once you're there, come onto the toes. Bend into the knees so deep that you're sending the hips towards the heels. Pressing the floor away from you with the hands. And then on your exhale, hop forward into a malasana yogi squat. So feet to the edges of the mat. Hips drop, elbows to the insides of the knees and hands to the heart. Letting tailbone root down, crown of the head reach high as if someone was kind of playing tug of war on either end of the spine. Making sure you're sitting tall. On your exhale, lift the hips and fold. Feet walk into hip width distance apart. And then shift onto the toes so you're lifting the heels. And maybe you hang out here, or maybe you start to lift the arms into airplane wings. Getting a stretch here through the front of the feet, the ankles, and also working on some balance. Drop the heels as you bend into the knees. Inhale, come up to bear pose, sending hips back. Slight tuck of the tailbone. And then grounding into the feet. Inhale, come all the way through standing. Palms touch. Little baby back bend at the top. Heart opens. Exhale, dive forward, Uttanasana. Forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift. Lengthen out the spine. Exhale to release. Plant the hands. Hop back into a chaturanga, which means by the time feet hit the back of the mat, elbows are bent and hold. Pause. Press into finger pads and knuckle pads. High plank, press up. On your exhale, bend the knees. Pull the hips back towards the heels. Press the floor away from you with the hands. So we're kind of crouched above the mat. And then from here, we're going to pull through to an up dog. So start to bend into the elbows. Scoop the heart through as you roll to the tops of the toes. And what I invite, only if it feels available in your body, so let it go if it doesn't feel good, is that you stay on the tops of the toes as you roll back to a downward dog. Again, if this is going to hurt you, don't do it. That goes for now and always. But I personally love the feeling of the stretch on the tops of my feet and across the front of my ankle. Right, as you're ready, if you haven't already, untuck toes, kick heels towards floor. That's going to be our modified sun sal. We're going to pick up the pace, come onto the toes, bend into the knees. Maybe you catch the balance in a handstand along the way, or maybe not. Exhale, hop the feet to the top of the mat. Hip width distance, inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale to release. Come onto the toes, heels lift from the mat. Maybe arms lift to airplane wings. And then as you drop the heels to the floor, bend the knees, come up. Bear pose, hips back, heart forward. Ground into the heels, come all the way through standing. Little back bend at the top, only if it feels supported in the low spine. And then use your exhale to dive forward, Uttanasana. Inhale to halfway lift, lengthen out the spine. Exhale, release, plant the hands, hop to pause in Chaturanga. Toes to the back of the mat, elbows bend, pause and hold. Inhale, high plank. Bend the knees, heart towards the tops of the thighs, heels towards the floor, you're crouching above the mat. And then start to bend into the elbows as you scoop through upward dog. Come to the tops of the toes. Maybe you stay on the tops of the toes as you roll the hips up and back, downward facing. One breath here. Big inhale, pause at the top, open the mouth, exhale. Roll over the toes. One more round like that. Deepen into the knees, exhale, hop or handstand to the top of the mat, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, let it go. Staying folded forward, come onto the toes, lift the heels. Arms up to airplane wings. One point of focus at the top of the mat for your gaze, that will help your balance. And then as you drop the heels, bend into the knees, inhale, come up, bear pose. Hips back, heart forward. Ground into the feet to come all the way through standing, palms touch. One more little back bend here, glutes engage. With your exhale, let the heart pull you forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen out the spine. Exhale, release, planting hands, hop to your Chaturanga. Toes to the back of the mat, elbows bend, hold. Inhale, high plank, press up. Exhale, bend the knees, heart towards tops of the thighs. Hips towards the heels. You're crouching. And then bend into the elbows as you scoop the heart through up dog. Roll to the tops of the toes. Maybe you stay on the tops of the feet. Just an option. Exhale, roll up and back, down dog, big breath. Big inhale. Open mouth, exhale. Turn over the toes if you haven't already. Landing in our down dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. From your down dog, exhale, step, walk, hop, or handstand to the top of the mat, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, let it go. Weight into the left foot, sweep the right toes high, standing split. Stay on the left foot, now come onto the left toes, left heel lifts. Maybe you hover the fingertips or work the arms up towards airplane wings for a moment. That is way hard. Drop the left heel down, pull the right knee into the chest as you come all the way up to standing, arms extend up overhead. We're going to take a floating tree shape. So the right foot is not going to come all the way to the left leg, but you're going to create a tree shape with the right leg. So you're pulling the right knee back. We're engaging into the glutes and into the outer hip muscles. The right toe is not using the left leg as stability. So we're really strengthening into the right hip here. Lift up and out of the waist. On your exhale, we're going to keep the shape of the right leg. We're going to lever the upper body forward. So we're kind of in like a fire hydrant shape, warrior three. Keep lifting the right leg high. Now straighten the right leg off to the right side of the mat just for a moment. And then swing the right leg around, finding your warrior three. Spine is parallel to the floor, right leg is parallel to the floor. Bend into the left knee until right toes drop to the back of the mat. Pivot open, warrior two. Right foot spins flat. Inhale to reverse the warrior. So right hand to the back of the right thigh, left arm comes up and over. And then as you exhale, cartwheel the hands, frame out the left foot, pause, straighten out left leg. Option here to shift to the left heel and lift left toes from the mat. Option to stay here or to walk both hands off to the left side of the left leg. Inhale to walk the hands back to frame out the left foot, rebend into the left knee. Left peace fingers to the left big toe. We're going to plant the right hand underneath right shoulder, come to the outside edge of right foot, and then open up into a side plank on the right side with the big peace fingers on the left big toe. Maybe you play with straightening out through the left leg. All just options. Keep the left leg in whatever position it is. Reach the left hand to the front of the room. Left toes are flexed. And then on your inhale, come back to a three-legged plank. Left hand plants, left foot to a hover. On your exhale, halfway lower, pause, hold. Inhale to pull through, upward dog. On your exhale, roll the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Big in breath here. On your exhale, step, walk, hop, handstand, land at the top of the mat, forward fold. I don't know what that little straddle jump I just did was, but you can try it if it looked fun. Inhale to halfway lift, lengthen the spine. Exhale to release. Weight comes into the right foot, sweep the left toes high, finding your standing split on the right side. Make sure your left glutes are engaged. They're going to pull the left toes towards ceiling and then shift onto the right toes. So right heel lifts from the mat, firing up the calf. And maybe you start to hover fingertips or play with reaching the hands up towards airplane wings. Make sure you've got a little teeny bend in the right knee so the joint space is protected. Ooh, this side feels harder for me. All right, drop the right heel down. We're going to pull the left knee into the chest as we come all the way up to standing. Arms extend up overhead. All right, lift up and out of the waist. Point the left toes. We're not bringing the left toes to the left thigh, but you're pulling the left knee open. So engaging into the glutes, into the outer hip. Big in-breath here. On your exhale, upper body leans forward. So try to bring the inner left thigh parallel to the floor, but shift the left shoulder down. Maybe straighten left leg out to the left side of the mat. Now flex the left foot. And then on your exhale, swing the left leg around behind you, landing in your warrior three. Knit the rib cage up and in. If this is too much for low back, then arms come to airplane wings. Bend into the right knee as left toes drop to the back of the mat. Pivot open, warrior two. Ooh, it just got very bright in here. Reach fingertips long in either direction, so as if someone was playing tug-of-war on the hands. With your inhale, reverse. Left hand, left thigh, right arm comes up and over, big inhale. On your exhale, cartwheel the hands, frame out the right foot. Shift to the ball of the left foot, straighten out right leg. Maybe you ground into the right heel and lift the right toes up off the mat. Spine stays tall, meaning it's long, so reaching crown of the head forward in front of you. Maybe you walk both hands off to the right side of the mat. Pull right hip back. And then inhale to walk the hands back through center. Drop the right toes, rebend into the right knee. Peace fingers from the right hand, hold on to the right foot. We're going to pivot open into a side plank on the left side by spinning to the outside edge of the left foot. Maybe you play with straightening out right leg. Even if the leg does not come all the way straight, that's also okay. On your inhale, we'll release the right hand towards the front of the mat, lengthening out right side body. And then as you come through center, right toes hover above the floor. Right hand plants. Three-legged plank. Exhale, halfway lower, hover and hold. Elbows squeeze in. And then pull through to your upward dog. Shoulders onto the back body. On your exhale, send the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Drop the head here so much that you're actually pulling the chin in towards chest. Bringing length down the back of the neck, the base of the skull. On your next inhale, let's sweep the right toes high. Bend the knee, open up the hip, squeezing the heel in towards glutes, shift the right shoulder down. And then re-straighten through the right leg. We're gonna land in a standing split at the top of the mat. But what I encourage along the way is that you play with maybe catching the balance in a handstand. This is definitely my bad side. We'll see how this goes. Taking a bend into the left knee. Maybe you catch the balance for a moment and then left toes hit the top of the mat. I didn't catch the balance at all. That's okay. Sweep right toes high. We're in our standing split. Maybe you hover the fingertips. Maybe you hold onto the left ankle. Right glutes engaged to lift right toes as high as you can. And then we're gonna land with the right foot next to the left foot. As you do, shift onto the toes, heels lift. Bring hands to the base of the skull, elbows point out. So you're pulling the backs of the elbows up towards ceiling, knit the rib cage up and in. And then drop the heels to the floor. As you inhale, come all the way to standing. Little back bend at the top, elbows pull apart and down. Release the hands as you exhale, dive the heart forward, forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift, lengthen out the spine. On your exhale, we're gonna plant the hands, knees to the backs of the arms, meeting our crow pose. So maybe one foot lifts, maybe both feet lift. And what I'm gonna play with here is a long hold in our crow. If I had a timer, I'd time us for a minute, but I'm just gonna guess. Press the back of the heart up towards sky. Of course, it's okay if you fall out and come back in. This definitely requires a lot of strength from us. If the wrists get tired at any point, if this is too much, then please come out of the pose. There's no pose that's worth hurting yourself for. If you're in your crow pose, squeeze heels in towards glutes. Back of the heart presses up. A few more cycles of breath. Long inhales, slow exhales. Maybe you close the eyes. Maybe you play with tucking the head in your crow pose, so pulling the chin in towards the chest. Ooh, that made me fall. All right, next place we meet is our down dog. Maybe you step back, hop back, vinyasa back. Meeting eventually in an exhale with the hips up and back. Soften the knees to the floor. Keep the toes tucked. Sit back onto the heels. So we're stretching out the bottoms of the feet. We're gonna interlace all 10 fingers. Gentle roll out the wrists. Switch direction of the circles. Release the index and the thumb, and then sweep arms up overhead. Lifting up and out of the waist. On your exhale, gentle lean over to the right. But imagine your back was up against a flat wall, so left shoulder spins open. Inhale back through center, lift up and out. Exhale over to the left. Right shoulder spins open. Inhale to come back through center. Circle the hands around so that they interlace at the low back. Pull the heart to the front of the room. Lift the tailbone a bit. Maybe chin lifts, gaze lifts a bit. And then we're gonna stay tucked onto the toes. If you need to use the hands, you can, but we're gonna play without. Dropping the heels to the floor, lift the hips, and then straighten out the legs so you're in your forward fold with the hands clasped. A little bit of mobility here. Squeezing heels of the hands together, hands reach more forward towards front of the room. And then we're lowering the hips back down, but keep the heels glued to the mat for as long as you can. Eventually they will need to lift, but as long as you can keep the heels rooted to the mat before they lift. And then lean upper body back, bring the knees to the floor. Come up to standing on the shins. We're gonna keep the hands interlaced, but if this is too much for the low back, hands can come to the low back for support. Shoulders onto back body, engage the glutes, open up the heart. So finding your camel shape, but again, be mindful of what the low back needs. Inhale to release the back bend, release the hands, swing the arms around so that you're clasping opposite shoulders. Maybe you even kind of grasp onto the shoulder blades. Tuck the tailbone around through the back body just a little bit. Chin in towards chest. And then inhale to release through center. Maybe roll out the shoulders for a moment. Hands to the mat, lift up, downward dog. On your inhale, sweep left toes high. Start just by bending the knee, opening up the hip as if you're pointing the left knee up towards the ceiling. So this is an active shape. And then re-straighten out through the left leg. Again, we're landing in a standing split with the right foot as our standing leg, but maybe you catch the balance in a handstand for a moment. So bending into the right knee, totally just an option. Handstand and right toes to the top of the mat. Maybe you hover fingertips. Maybe you hold on to right ankle. Left glutes engaged to pull the left toes high. And then land with the left foot next to the right foot. As you do, come up onto the toes. Inner thighs squeeze together. Arms come out to airplane wings this time. Heels squeeze together. Core is strong. Knit the rib cage up and in. And then root through the heels as you inhale, come all the way to standing. Little baby back bend. And exhale, dive the heart forward, Uttanasana. In breath to halfway lift and lengthen the spine. Exhale to plant the hands. One more time for crow pose, but this time we're gonna play a little different. Lifting toes up off the floor. Maybe you just play with holding. Whenever the wrists are done, then please be done. If you wanna play with a little more, we're gonna see if you can lift one knee off the back of the arm and then set it back down and lift the other knee off of the arm. Moving back and forth. One more time each side. And then the next place we meet is in our downward dog. So maybe a hop back, maybe a collapse. Collapse is sometimes actually very much required on our way to learning something new. On your exhale, let's slow walk the feet to the top of the mat. Clasp opposite elbows, give the wrists a little break. Find a bit of a sway from side to side. Dropping the head, chin in towards the chest. Then releasing the hands down, one vertebrae at a time. Let your inhale roll you up to standing. Arms extend up overhead. And then palms to touch at heart center. All right, here we go into our main sequence. Weight comes into the left foot, right knee up into the chest, point out the toes. As we did earlier, we're opening up the right knee into this floating tree shape. Arms extend up overhead. And then on your exhale, lever the upper body forward. So we're in this kind of fire hydrant warrior three shape. Extend the right leg out to the right side, right leg straightens, fingertips reach long. It's definitely a lot of strength in the core and in the right hip. We're gonna swing the right leg all the way around off to the left side of the mat. Bend into the left knee, keep reaching the fingertips forward. So as if someone was pulling on your hands here, and you're also pulling the hips to the back of the mat, so you're pulling away from them. Release right hand down to the floor. Left fingertips extend up overhead, twist out the upper body. If you want more more intensity in the stretch, you can play with re-straightening the left leg just for a moment. But on your exhale here, we're gonna see if we can drop the right hip all the way down to the floor. This is a lot of opening in the left hip, so modify as you need. We're turning to the left. Hold on to the left foot. We've been here before at the beginning of practice. Straighten out the left leg. Keep the spine tall. Left foot is flexed. Sit up really tall out of the waist. Crown of the head reaches high, so you should be turned sideways on your mat right now, although whatever way you're turned is okay. And then we're going to deliver the foot back where it was. So planting the left foot. Right hand plants. Lift the hips. Lift left hand. And then we're going to pivot all the way open into a half moon. So left hand drops. Right fingertips, right toes, spin open. Maybe you hover the left hand from the mat for a moment. Bend into the right knee so you're holding onto the right foot, Shavasana, sugar cane pose. And then we're gonna see if we can hold on to this clasp of the right foot. So as much as you can, don't let the right toes go. Bend into the left knee and bring the right knee to the back of the left calf. Left fingertips extend forward to the front of the room. Both knees are bent, right hand might still be on the right foot. We're going to open up into a dancer's pose by straightening out through the left leg, kick into the right hand, flex the right toes. Natarajasana. Equal weight underneath the left foot. Always okay if you fall out and then come back in. Extend the right leg long, right arm long. So we're back in our warrior three. Knit the rib cage up and in. So we're taking the back bend out of the shape. And then on your exhale, bend into the left knee until right toes drop to the back of the mat. Lift the upper body up. Both legs are straight. Lift up and out of the waist. Hands to the base of the skull. Engage into the glutes. Open the heart up towards the sky. Only go as far as is protected in the low spine. On your exhale here, hands stay to interlace at the base of the skull. We're going to release the back bend and reach the upper body forward until spine is parallel to the floor. You're still on the ball of the right foot. You're not locking out the left knee. So a little bend there. And then we're going to bend enough into the left knee that it stacks on top of the left heel. Elbows pull up towards the ceiling. Soften the right knee down to the mat. Open the heart up towards the sky. Elbows peel apart and down towards the back corners of the mat. Drop the hands. Circle the hands to frame out the left foot. We're going to play with straightening out through the left leg with the option of working into a full split. So left leg to extend long out in front of you as right leg reaches long behind you. Or anywhere along the way. So we haven't done a whole lot. I mean, we have warmed up the hamstrings, but we haven't solely focused on the hamstrings. So if you're not in your deepest expression, please don't force it. One more breath here. And then if you've taken it past a half split, let's meet back there. So sliding the left leg back. Rebend into the left knee. Kick the left foot back to a three-legged table. Wrists are underneath the shoulders. Bend into the elbows, lowering chin and chest to the floor. Pull the left foot up towards sky. And then as you press back up, we're rounding left knee to nose. Lift the right knee from the mat. And then kick back, three-legged plank. Left toes are flexed. Exhale to lower halfway down. Inhale to pull through, upward dog. And then on your exhale, send the hips up and back, downward facing. Walk the feet to the top of the mat. One little baby step at a time. Feet come hip width distance apart. Let's bend in the knees as much as we need to bring palms underneath the feet so the toes come into the wrist creases. Elbows pull themselves to the outsides of the mat. Heart tractions towards tops of the thighs. Maybe you play with straightening through one leg and then the other leg. And then releasing the hands. One vertebrae at a time here. Roll up the spine. So working our way up through standing. Arms extend up overhead at the top. And then on your exhale, palms to touch through heart center. Maybe close the eyes, one breath before we switch it out to the other side. This is where we all hope that I remember it on the second side because I had a different direction in mind. But that's the fun of it, right? Shift your weight into the right foot. Left knee comes up, point out the left toes. Arms extend up overhead. Floating tree pose. Use the strength of the glutes and of the outer hip to pull the left knee open as wide as you can. So opening up the hip. On your exhale, lever forward with the upper body. So spine comes parallel to the floor. You're twisting the left shoulder down while you're also pulling the left knee up and then straighten out through the left leg. Keep reaching fingertips forward. As you swing the left leg around past a warrior three, keep bringing it over to the right side of the mat so the outside edge of the left foot meets the floor. Before we fold into it, sit deep into the right knee here. Imagine someone's pulling the hands out long in front of you and you're also pulling the hips long behind you, so you're getting length in the spine. And then drop left hand down. Right fingertips open up. Getting into the outer right hip IT band. Maybe you play with straightening out right leg a little bit. And as you're ready for it, bend enough into the right knee that the left hip drops all the way to the floor into a dragon squat, I think is what it's called. And then you're pivoting over to your right. So my back is going to be to you. You'll be twisted to the right side of your mat. Straighten out through the right leg. So both hands to the right foot. Spine stays tall, pull the shoulders onto back body, flex out the right foot, and keep pulling the right thigh towards right rib cage. One more breath here. Back of the left thigh stays glued down to the mat. And then as we bend into the right knee, we're planting it right back where it was. So right toes point to the top of the mat. We're coming all the way open into a half moon. So as we lift the hips, right hand comes down as left toes and left fingertips peel open. Left shoulder to stack on top of the right shoulder. Maybe you hover your balance by lifting right fingertips or holding onto the right ankle. Moving towards Shavasana, sugarcane pose, bend into the left knee until the left hand grabs onto the left foot. And then start to find a kick into the hand. So opening left quads, the front of the left hip. Big inhale here. On your exhale, we're bending into the right knee. Keep the grip on the left foot as you bring the left knee to the back of the right calf. So it's kind of a Shiva squat shape, but you're holding onto the left foot or ankle, and then reach the right hand to the front of the room. Again, one point of focus for your gaze. Flex out the left toes. As you straighten out through the right leg, we're opening up into a dancer's pose. Left shoulder opens, left quads open. Last breath here. And then releasing the left leg long, releasing left arm long. Knit the rib cage up and in, so take all back bend out of the shape. Requires engagement in the core. And then bend into the right knee until left toes hit the back of the mat. Straighten out through the right leg. Come up through standing. Lift up and out of the waist. Hands interlace at the base of the skull. Elbows peel apart behind you. And then engage the glutes to open up the heart. Making sure that the low back feels okay. You should be getting as much opening in the shoulders here as you are in the low back. Inhale to release the back bend, although you'll always really only feel things where you're tight. Exhale forward until the spine is parallel to the floor. Keep the hands at the base of the skull. You're on the ball of the left foot. Your right knee is not locked out. Elbows keep peeling up towards the ceiling. Bend into the right knee until the right knee is stacked on top of the right heel. Elbows keep peeling up, so we're strong in the shoulders. And then soften left knee down to the mat. Open up the heart, finding a bit of a back bend. Elbows apart and down. Keep pressing the hips down and forward so that we're getting length in the front of the left hip. Release the back bend. Release the hands to frame out right foot. Straighten right leg. And then either hang out here in your half split or right leg slides forward, left leg slides back, working towards full split. Hanumanasana. Big inhales, big exhales. Keep pulling right toes back. Keep inviting right hip back. 2 more breaths or so. Right here. And then if you found yourself in a full split, let's slide the right leg back. Rebend into the right knee. We're going to keep the left knee rooted. Now kick the right leg back, 3-legged table. Bend into the elbows, chin and chest, lower to the floor, right heel lifts. And then on your exhale, as you press up, pull the right knee to nose, right thigh in towards right rib cage, and lift the left knee from the mat. Kick the right foot back, 3-legged plank. Last time here, right toes to a hover. Exhale, halfway lower down. Inhale, pull through. And using your exhale, send the hips up and back. Downward dog. On your next inhale, sweep right toes high. Keep the right foot flexed, keep the right leg straight. Shift forward, see if you can tap the right toes to the right wrist. Inhale to kick back. Exhale, tap right toes, right wrist. Inhale to kick back. One more time. Exhale, tap right toes, right wrist. Pause and hold it. See if you can slide the toes higher on the arm. And then step the right foot to the outside of right hand. Drop the hips low, but keep the left knee lifted. Hands take a step forward and to the left. So you're melting the heart down towards the floor. And then on your exhale, we're gonna walk the hands to the left as we spin the feet parallel to the edges of the mat. Let the upper body waterfall forward. Hands come anywhere along the legs or to the feet or to the floor, pulling heart back between the thighs. Waterfalling the spine forward. And then using your inhale, let's halfway lift, lengthen the spine. Exhale to release. Pivot to the back of the mat, hands on the inside of the left foot. Drop the hips down and forward. Walk the hands a big step forward and a big step to the right, melting the heart down to the mat. Again, back of the right thigh is pressing up towards the ceiling here. On your inhale, let's walk the hands back to the inside of the left foot. You're still on the ball of the right foot. Kick the left toes back, three-legged down dog. On your exhale, keep left leg straight. See if you can tap left toes to left wrist, and for that matter, the left knee might bend, it's okay. Kick the left toes, three-legged down dog. Exhale, tap left toes, left wrist. Inhale to kick, three-legged down dog. Last one, exhale, tap left toes, left wrist, pause and hold. And then step the left foot to the outside of the left hand. Pivot to the right, back through center. Upper body waterfalls forward. This time option, if you have headstand in your practice, to basket the hands. Bring the crown of the head to the floor. Maybe you hang out right here. Maybe you're just working on bringing weight into the forearms and into the top of the head. Maybe you press the legs straddle up through headstand, or you can kick up through center. It's important in your headstand that not all of your weight is in the top of your head. You actually have much more weight in the forearms. If you want to play with any different variation with the legs, you could. Just options. You can also be holding the stretch here. It's a great stretch, which is where we will meet when you're ready. So if you lifted the legs towards headstand, eventually bringing them back down. And then using your inhale, halfway lift, lengthen the spine. Walk the hands back to the top of the mat, this time framing out the right foot. And then heel toe the right foot to the left so we can drop the right knee into the right wrist for a pigeon pose. Couple breaths here. Maybe you stay in the center, maybe you lower down to forearms or down towards the belly. Maybe you let the forehead rest onto the hands or on the floor. We're not going to stay in this shape for too long, but bringing some opening into the outer hip. And letting body know we're going to start to take things down a notch. Using your next inhale, press back up to the hands if you've lowered down. Couple of options here, and please listen to your body. I can't say it enough. You could bend into the left knee. You could reach left hand around for the left foot, pulling the heel in towards the glutes. Eventually, if it feels available, you could flip grip on the hand. You could bring the right arm up and over, and you could pull the left toes towards the top of the head. Please be gentle. Do not go past what feels supported for you. In whatever shape you're in, let's release it. Drop the left toes back. And we're going to shift off the right hip to the right hip. And we're going to swing the left knee around so that it stacks on top of the right. On your inhale, arms extend up overhead. Clasp opposite elbows up overhead. Lean to the left. And then over to the right. And then drop the right hand behind the back. Maybe left arm comes up from behind to clasp opposite fingers. And you can either stay tall or you can fold forward with the upper body. Bring length into the outer hips and into the low back and into the shoulders. using your inhale, come back up through center. Release the hands. We're gonna meet in a downward dog. But what I encourage is that you get playful along the way. Something that I like to do, if you have headstand in your practice, is from this shape, you can plant the top of the head, create the basket with the hands, and kind of reverse swivel the legs up. If you are in handstand and you want to play, again, all just options. You might stretch or split out the legs. You could play with bending into the knees, planting the hands into the mat, and lifting the head into a pincha forearm stand. These are all just options. You could play with different variations, bringing toes to the head. Next place we meet is in our down dog. So if you're in your pincha, maybe you land in a dolphin pose. Lift the elbows. You could take a vinyasa. You could make something up entirely along the way. Let it be your practice. Once you've found your down dog, on your exhale, we're gonna ripple the spine forward, landing in a high plank. And then from the tailbone, pull the hips back, downward dog. So rolling out the dog 2 more times on your own. And then eventually, on an inhale, left toes will lift. Exhale, left knee into left wrist, finding pigeon prep on the second side. Right leg extends, spine is tall to start. Maybe you lower down onto forearms or towards belly. We want to make sure that the hips and the shoulders stay pretty squared off to the top of the mat here. So if you find the left hip dropping off to the left, see if you can pull it through center. If there's tension in the knee, you've gone too far. And you could eventually bring forehead to the floor or to the backs of the hands, but I do encourage that you rest the forehead and that space of the third eye onto something. Just a couple more cycles of breath here before we transition out into the next version of this shape. So if this feels like the deepest expression of your pose, or as far as you'd like to take it today, then please hang here for a moment longer. If you're ready for a little more, you could press up to the hands. You could bend into the right knee, reach for the right foot. Again, if the knee or the low back gives you tension at any point, then stop where you're at. You could play with pointing out right toes, reversing the grip of the right hand, and then working the right arm up and over, maybe left arm up and over. I can't get the full grip on this side, which is fine, at least not today. And then whatever version of the shape you are in, releasing back through center. Drop the left hip to the floor. We're going to swing the right leg around so that right knee stacks on top of left knee. If this isn't available or if it feels really tight, you can sit up onto a prop in this shape, or you can even straighten out through the bottom leg. Clasp opposite, elbows up overhead. Lift up and out of the waist. Little lean over to the right. And then over to the left. And then left palm to the back between the shoulder blades. You can even use the right hand to kind of pull the left elbow down. And then left arm comes around behind the back, working towards maybe eventually clasping fingers. I can get it always on one side and not on the other, which is, again, just fine. You can either stay tall or you can fold forward. And then using your next inhale, come back up through center, release the arms. This time we're just going to unravel the legs out into a straddle. So toes pull back towards the body, sit up really tall out of the waist. On your exhale, walk the upper body forward until you land maybe on the forearms, maybe towards belly eventually, or maybe onto a prop of some sort. As you fold forward, the toes stay pointed up, so the femur bones are not rotating inward. And keeping the spine long. And exhales to continue to deepen the stretch, deepen the shape. And staying folded forward, we're going to walk the upper body over to the left leg. Bring the right hand, if possible, to the outside edge of the left foot, and then the left fingertips behind you. And then walk back through center. Stay folded forward. We're going over to the right. Left hand, if possible, to the outside edge of the right foot. Right fingertips reach behind you. Inhale to come back through center. Stay folded forward, last breath. And then come back up through seated, bending into the knees. Bottoms of the feet together, hold on to the toes. Sit up really tall out of the waist. And then use your exhale to dive the heart forward. So heart towards the heels, elbows to the insides of the knees. Inhale to come back up through center. Keep the knees bent, plant the feet to the floor. Fingertips extend forward. And then using the strength of the core, we're gonna roll down the back body one vertebrae at a time, making our way all the way down onto the back. Once you're down, pull the knees into the chest, finding a little rock from side to side, or maybe some small circles on the low back. We'll take one final back bend. I'll talk us into bridge with the option to go into wheel if you feel ready for it and if you feel comfortable in the shape. Planting the feet to the floor hip width distance apart. If you're going up into bridge pose, which is what I suggest for everyone to start, hands come down by the sides, and then pressing into the feet, we'll lift the hips up towards the ceiling, roll the shoulders underneath you, maybe interlace hands underneath you. If you've never done wheel pose with someone there to kind of make sure that you're safe, then I encourage you not to try it at home by yourself if it's totally brand new to you. If it feels available and you're comfortable going into the shape, you could bring the hands to the floor, fingers pointing towards the heels, and then press up to the top of the head, and then maybe eventually up all the way into a wheel pose. Squeeze the knees in towards each other so that they stay stacked on top of the heels. You're actively pressing the floor away from you with both the hands and the feet. And the glutes here are engaged. You could play with lifting one leg off the floor, straightening it up towards ceiling, and then the other. Just options. And then the transition out is on your own. So whenever you feel ready, making your way down to the back body, we're just going to land by walking the feet wide towards the edges of the mat and letting the knees drop in towards each other, and then letting the arms come out to a T. And as you're ready for it, windshield wipering the legs from side to side a couple of times, so both knees drop to one side and then back through center and over to the other. Finding your way through center, let's straighten the left leg long to the top of the mat. Pull the right knee into the chest. We're going to start here with one last hamstring stretch, straightening leg up towards ceiling. Hands can either come to the right thigh, the right shin, maybe to the right foot. You're inviting right thigh towards right rib cage. I'm going to give the option for a reclined compass pose if you want to play with one last kind of funky shape. Left hand comes to the outside edge of the right foot. And then you're working the right leg to the outside of the right rib cage towards the floor. Keep the left shoulder rooted down to the mat, and the right hand can kind of just rest on the right heel. And then keeping the right hand to the outside edge of the left foot, or if the right knee is bent to the knee, we're going to work the right leg across the left side of the body. Right arm extends out to a T. If this is too much for the right outer hip and IT band, then bend into the right knee. And then using your inhale, come back through center. We're going to baby cradle the right leg for a moment. Little shift side to side, kind of rotating the femur in the hip socket. And then we swap it out. Left knee pulls in, right leg extends long. Start by straightening left leg up towards ceiling, and again, hands could come to the interlace behind the left thigh, or the left shin, or the left foot. And you are more than welcome to stay right here. This is already a pretty deep stretch for the hamstrings. Or you could bring right hand to the outside edge of the left foot. You're working the left leg to the outside of the body. And the right shoulder stays glued to the floor. So left inner thigh to the outside of the rib cage, left rib cage. And left arm out to a T. Left leg across the right side of the body, either with the leg straight, or you can bend into the left knee. Again, both shoulders are engaged with the floor, and you might even bring the gaze over to the left fingertips. Inhale to come back through center. Baby cradle, so bend into the left leg. Little shift side to side, rotating the femur in the hip socket. Pull both knees back in just for one last moment. Squeeze tight, compress the hips here. Big inhale. And then exhale, release all the way down onto the back, landing in shavasana. So finding our way down onto the back body with the palms facing up. The toes might naturally roll out to the sides of the mat, and the fingertips will likely naturally curl in towards the center of the palms. Let the weight of the entire body soften and release down, so you're not holding yourself up here. You're softening and relaxing into this shape. Shavasana translates to corpse pose. Shavasana is the Sanskrit word for corpse pose. And the reason for that being that it's this transition at the end of our practice where we get to come back afterwards and start new, start fresh again, as if every moment was an opportunity for rebirth. And that whatever energy we've moved through in our practice over the last hour together, that it really has moved through. It's found its place in our past so that we can attune ourselves to the present. So as we settle into this place of stillness, noticing any chatter that's going on in the mind space. And letting it simply be information for where you might be stuck. Or worries from past or future that might be calling for your attention, when really we could realign ourselves to what's right here. Another moment in silence. Invite in a bit of a deeper breath. Wiggling the fingers, wiggling the toes, the wrists, the ankles. Arms extend up overhead to invite in a full body stretch, kicking through the heels, reaching through the fingertips. And then pulling the knees into the chest, eyes stay closed as we begin this transition up into a seat. So that could look like rolling onto a side, either side, and pausing for a few moments there. However you make the transition back up, keep the eyes closed. Meeting with a tall spine, you could sit up onto a prop if that helps support the hips and the knees and the low back. And the hope as we transition back out is that we're not jolting ourselves from this inward space that we've created back into an outward stimulation, but that we transition it out so that there's this through line, whereas we go back out and engage with maybe work or family or partners or friends or whatever is coming next, that you're also holding on to a drop of this introspective gaze, of this connection to self, so that we can flow seamlessly between connection with self and connection with others. Hands can either meet at the heart space or they can stay resting in the lap. And thank you so much for practicing with me, for moving with me, for sitting with me. Namaste.